How's it going, everyone? It's Nathan Hawken here, and welcome to the video. So recently I wrote a post for social media, and it was about how to measure your success. One of the reasons I create content is I like to share my knowledge, I like to share things I've learned along the way, things that have helped me grow. I like to help people create an impact, whether it's through a written post, a video, whatever it may be. My whole intention behind creating content is I like to just put my message out there, and I like to serve people in whatever way I can, and especially if it's not a one-on-one coaching type of relationship. And what was really cool about this post that I put out about how to measure your success is I had a former colleague of mine who I'd worked with for about 3 months in one of my roles reach out to me with a message. The message said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, he said, look, I just saw your post about how to measure success. He gave me an example of how it resonated with him and how it aligns with where he's at. And he followed it up with a question in regards to how he'd seen me put out posts and content about my own personal journey while still working for a company or different companies along the way. And he wondered about how that goes down with my employer. And so I did something which I would typically do. I asked him if he wants to have a quick chat because I had an idea or a feeling that maybe there was something going under the surface that he needs some help with. And so we teed up a call and had a really good conversation. What came out during the conversation was something very interesting because he started to share about where he's at in his own personal journey. He also wanted to put some of his own content out there, share some knowledge, but he struggled because he wondered or worried about what people would think of it. In the industry that he was in, there can be quite a lot of competition, there can be a good few experts out there, and he was really worried about how he would compare up against them, and if he put something out there, especially if it's something on the vulnerable side of himself, how that would go down or how that would be perceived within the industry. I spoke with him for a good 30-45 minutes and we had a really good conversation. We dug a little bit deeper in regards to where that thinking or feeling was coming from inside of him, because I know that it's not the surface level problem, and I explained that to him, like what he's talking about is more of a surface level problem. There's actually a deeper problem which is fueling that type of belief. And this is something which is quite common with conversations I've had, is a lot of people struggle to put themselves out there, and you might feel the same way because you get worried about what other people are going to think, whether it's creating content, whether it's trying to instigate a sales call, whether it's going networking and meeting people, having a conversation with someone. There's all sorts of different areas this applies to, but for many of us, we can really struggle with putting ourselves out there because we get quite worried about what other people are going to think of us, think about what we're saying. You can have quite a strong fear of being judged or being seen as weak. You can have a strong fear of being judged. You know, you might struggle to really open your mouth, really want to share something, communicate something with someone, put yourself in a position where you're focused towards your goals, you've got something you're working towards, but there's some insecurities inside yourself, so you don't put yourself in those positions. And so anytime the opportunity comes where you want to put yourself out there, whether it's to be vulnerable, whatever it may be, you've got this strong sense of, or this strong fear of being judged. Like, what's the other person going to think of what I have to say or what I'm putting out there? This fear, and when you stop yourself doing that, this holds you back from having an impact or creating an impact in this world, creating impact in your own world. It holds you back from achieving more towards your goals and staying on the path because you're allowing that fear to really hold you in place. So typically this fear comes with a range of limiting beliefs which are sat on top of it. So limiting beliefs like I'm not strong enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not brave enough, or I don't want to, or I can't be vulnerable in front of people by sharing my experiences, talking about my own struggles, talking about my own journey, like it's a form of being weak. One thing I've learned in my own journey is that when you're able to be that vulnerable in front of people, when you're able to share your own experiences, your own challenges, your own hurts, your own struggles on your own path, it actually gives you a lot of strength because those things no longer hold you back. I know with myself, many times where I've made mistakes, I've screwed up, I've lost money, I've lost clients, whatever it may be, I have beat myself up quite a lot, and I realize the more I'm able to communicate that with people, the more I'm able to share that with people and be vulnerable and show that vulnerable side, the more I can actually grow and learn from the experience, because everyone else in one form or another has had that type of experience where they've screwed up, they've dropped the ball, they've missed out on things, they've lost deals. And we can all relate then as human beings. But still, you can have this strong fear of being judged, and it can really hold you back from taking the necessary steps that you need to take when you have things to do, when you have stuff you want to accomplish, when you want to really create an impact in this world and in people's lives, or even if it's just an impact in your own life and the people around you. And so the question always comes back to, well, what can I do about this fear? Like, I've got this fear inside me. I know I'm holding myself back. What can I actually do about it? Well, it's very simple. Most of the time, a standard or a quick reframe to help give you some perspective is all it takes. It's not going to be easy. And fear is not something that just disappears. You can no longer be fearful of certain things, but fear is a natural human emotion. It's a natural response to certain things. It actually serves a good and very strong purpose in your life. It's only when you let it dominate you. When we bring it down to the specific of a fear of being judged by others, being worried about what people think, that part can be quite simple. The first thing you need to do is just remember what other people think of you is irrelevant. Good, bad, or ugly, it's absolutely irrelevant when you have things that you're working towards which are going to be applicable to you and your life. When you're on track towards a purpose, to a goal, something that you want to do or something you're being called towards doing, anything anyone else thinks about it is irrelevant. And I'll put a little caveat on that, because if you're speaking to people who can assist you in your journey and there's a win-win there, then sure, listening to other people, hearing their advice, hearing their own struggles or journey, that's always going to help. But really, for the majority of people, what other people think of you is absolutely irrelevant, because it's going on in their head, not yours. Something else to remember is you're going to be judged. One way or another, you're going to be judged. People judging people is a natural thing that happens. And it will always happen. There is no avoiding it. So you have to get used to the idea that no matter what, you're going to be judged. It's just up to you to decide what that impact of their internal judgment is going to have on you. Because most of the time, we may think we're being judged in a good way or a bad way, but the reality is we've got no idea what's going on in that other person's head. We've got no idea how people are thinking. We've got no idea how people are judging us, but they are judging us, and they are going to think things about you. So when people judge you in their head, it makes no difference to you. It makes no difference to your life. It's absolutely irrelevant, because it's just in their head, because there is no avoiding it. It's going to happen. And when you're putting yourself out there, maybe you are creating content, maybe you're writing posts, maybe you're doing videos, maybe you're writing articles, maybe you're putting yourself out there in a way where just other people can see you, networking, doing a talk, whatever it may be. If people are going to judge you in a negative way, that's not your problem. That's not your fault. Doesn't matter what you do or what you say, even if you bomb hard. If you're being judged in a negative way by other people, that's on them. That's in their head. That's in their mind. If there's some constructive criticism that comes out of it, great. Just don't take it on board emotionally. But if you are being judged in a negative way, just remember, it's not your problem. It's theirs. There are many people out there that will slate you no matter what, because they're too afraid to do something themselves. Or they struggle to gain the resources or find the resources to follow their own path and follow their own dream. So they like to bring people down. You know, a lot of the time it can be verbally. A lot of the time it's just in their own head. But we see it with internet trolls all the time. Most people who are saying negative comments towards people are typically the ones that struggle to do anything worthwhile themselves. It's a sad state of affairs, but it's true. But even with them out there, it's always your choice to take it on board, to accept it, to create your reality around that and install their own negativity on top of your beliefs and whatever fears that you may have. Or you can decide to do the opposite and use it as strength and ignore it and just push on with what you need to do. Because the more you're able to push on and push through it, the less that fear has a hold of you, the less power you give it. And the less power you give that, it means you're giving your energy and your power and strength towards the thing that you're actually working towards. So really, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about you. It doesn't matter if they're going to judge you. as long as you can decide to stay on track with what you want to do. And it's really important to understand and have empathy towards everyone. To have empathy and love towards everyone who's out there. Whether they're good, whether they're bad, whether they're someone in the middle. It doesn't matter. Everyone is coming from their own circumstances. Everyone has their own trauma, their own story, their own upbringing, their own pain, their own struggle, their own joys, their own happiness. Everyone's model of the world is shown through their actions, just like yours is, just like mine is. If their actions are negative, if they're hurtful, if they're not empowering, if they're not powerful, then you've got a good understanding, a good idea about where they're coming from, about their model of the world, about what they've gone through, about the hurt that they're carrying with them, the pain, the anger that they might have that they need help with letting go. So if you can understand that about people, if you can be empathetic towards that and decide not to take on their stuff, that gives more power to yourself to stay on path towards the things that you want to do. So is there a quick fix for letting go your fear of being judged? Yeah, sometimes. If you meet the right people, if you can do certain therapies, if you can do the deep inner work to get yourself deep enough to a point where you can understand where that fear is coming from, you can reframe it, loosen the problem, let it go, and you can move on. Yeah, absolutely. There can be some very quick fixes for that. But for the most of us, it takes work and it takes time. It's not easy, but as long as you're prepared to give yourself that time, that space, and that freedom to do the inner work, to give yourself that strength to dig down deep enough inside yourself, have some very, very difficult questions asked of yourself to understand what the purpose and the reason for this fear is, then you can start to find solutions to overcome it. But at the very beginning, it starts with really not caring about what other people think. Understand where they're coming from. Understand that there's nothing you can do about what other people think about you, what other people say about you, if they're going to judge you or not. The only thing you ever have control over is you and what you do despite the ongoing and consistent judging and the thinking of other people. Now, I hope this video has helped you in some way. If it has, please, I ask you to leave a comment below and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe if you're on those channels. If you're interested in speaking with me further, you can email me. That's in the description below. And if you are enjoying my content and it's reached you in some way, it's aligning with who you are and what you're doing in your life and your career right now, then feel free to check me out on Patreon, subscribe to one of those, and assist me to be able to serve more people like yourself. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you for the next one.